All right, well, so right here. You all made it. It's 5 o'clock, and we have happy hour, and we're going to entertain you with a little panel game show called DPE Showdown. If you haven't seen it, we're going to have 4 panelists. We're going to talk about some fun, interesting topics around developer productivity engineering, and then you all get to vote after each question topic on who made the best point, which story that you like, whatever resonated well with you. So let's introduce our amazing contestants. First of all, Aida from Toast. I met this lovely lady when just from Android conferences and Android meetups. She's on mobile dev infra team at Toast, and her specialties are build and test times and build configurations. She's a star at that.
Yep.
Next up, we have Ian from Netflix. He's the manager of Java platform team, part of the developer productivity organization at Netflix. You know, when he's not doing that, you can find him arguing with Elon Musk about dev infra related stuff on Twitter or X or whatnot. Really interesting, entertaining threads. Highly recommended. Next up, we have Max from LinkedIn. Got a lot of LinkedIn folks in the crowd. Max might get a lot of votes tonight. Max works on the productivity, engineering, and happiness team on the developer insights of, I try to get it all. It's a big team name and
something like that.
Yeah, he's got a couple of books out and he's definitely an expert on this topic.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Rui from Meta. He's the returning champion. You know, we're like Jeopardy. You know what I mean? The winner gets to come back. That's Rui. I call him the professor because he's a professor on the developer experience team. He has a lot of nice research and pretty awesome dude. He had a great talk today as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's get down to the topics. Let's start with something that the community can kind of learn from. What had the biggest impact on developer productivity that you've witnessed in the last 24 months? Aida, you're up first.
Personally, not AI. Like, let's make it straight. In my company, the biggest impact on developer productivity was reducing build times. And the time we spent in 2023, reducing build time from 68 minutes on our PR builds to 27. It helped dramatically, while also adding up additional features in our CI, shifting left. With all that process, we were able to get the biggest impact.
Perfect, in 30 seconds.
Just in time.
Ian, you're up next.
Yeah, so I guess first off, I'd say last 24 months, biggest impact on developer productivity. I guess no one's using Twitter anymore, so people are a lot more focused, do a lot more code. But in all seriousness, I think we hit like a sort of a turning point in sort of remote developer workspaces. It really feels like we've gone from experimental stuff to seeing real productivity wins, less toil, everything's configured, things just work out of the box for folks. It feels like a new space.
Max.
I think in the world, as far as people's ability to learn things, AI has been a pretty amazing tool. I don't know that it's been the biggest impact on like day-to-day productivity. I think probably day-to-day productivity, probably just focusing down on the fundamental basic needs of developers. Like, can I build my system? Does my CI pipeline actually work? And just delivering basically good results to developers on the things that they actually need on a day-to-day basis.
And Rui, to wrap it up.
All right, so I do think that AI, of course, has had an impact, but not just AI. Everything that addresses the needs of developers, and it goes from static analysis, dynamic analysis, hybrid, and whatnot. So, in a sense, not just AI, but the combination of these tools and techniques do have an impact, or did have an impact, in the developer productivity.
Okay, audience. Pull out your phones, get your Slido app out, and give your vote on who you think made the best point here. Oh, we get to see it in real time. Beautiful. Aida with the win. Nice.
Wow.
We got a lot of folks working on builds here.
Yeah.
So, that's a competitive advantage. All right. Second one. How do you balance testing coverage versus faster feedback cycles? Rui, you're up first.
All right. So actually, there are several test cases. I think testing is very important, but not all the tests are important, and we do not need to execute them all the time. And so we do need techniques that actually are able to identify those tests that need to run first. And so we need actually to have feedback of failures much faster in order to have faster feedback cycles. And in a sense, I think it's all about being able to prioritize test executions.
Max.
So in general, these two things are not really in conflict. If your tests are fast, deterministic, and hermetic, and you can run them all in parallel, you actually get faster feedback cycles and better feedback cycles by improving test coverage. As long as you focus on the right shape of the test pyramid where most of your tests live as unit tests that you can run during development time, it can actually be a dramatic change in terms of your iteration speed and experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you actually have to balance them. I feel like with things like predictive test selection, you're able to actually keep adding tests to your project, etc., but just run in that local developer feedback loop, just the tests that are actually applicable to the changes you're making. So technology is letting us cheat, and I think that's great.
Ada, to wrap it up.
So testing coverage is important, and everybody should be prioritizing testing coverage over faster feedback cycles. But within the testing coverage, it's important to prioritize some of the elements. Quality of the testing coverage for sake of testing coverage never works well. Stability of the test, because if you have flaky tests, what's the point running those tests, right? And then speed comes last one, I would say. As long as you fix first two, then you're going to get faster feedback cycles. But overall, if I have to choose, testing coverage over.
All right. Okay, audience, time to vote. All right, Max is on the board. Woo! Next one is one I personally deal with all the time. How do you get buy-in, prioritization for tools, DPE initiatives, and how do you quantify and justify the cost? You want to buy stuff, you need more team members and whatnot. How do you do that? Max?
So you have to understand how the people with the power to make decisions are convinced about things. Some people are not convinced by data, but by emotions or anecdotes or stories or statements about other teams. And you have to know what convinces that person. The way that you justify the cost is you demonstrate a problem that is real to those stakeholders who have to make that decision.
Love it. Rui, you're up next.
All right. So is this even possible? Anyways, it's difficult. But I think the way is to actually align these tools with the business outcomes, and in a way, we need to demonstrate that developer efficiencies are actually getting into the way of good business outcomes. And so, in a sense, to justify cost, we need actually really similar to what Max said. We need to show that this is actually working or supposed to work, anyways.
Quantify developer efficiency. Aida, you're next.
Okay. So I would say we're platform teams. Oftentimes it's all about reducing costs, and the best way to justify any new tool, it's a matter of displaying data around developer hours spent maintaining a tool versus using or bringing in new tool that will help us achieve what we want in X amount of time while saving X amount of hours of developer time that could be spent building products or could be spent doing something else. So that kind of language usually works well with business and leadership.
All right. Okay, audience.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
I kind of like a shot at this.
Good thing I have the cheat
I
sheet.
feel like we're kind of stacking the deck here,
Good
buddy.
thing I have the cheat sheet. Yeah.
So I think, you can get maybe a VP to sign off on buying a tool or sponsoring an initiative. But if you don't really bring the developers along with you first and foremost, you're not going to really achieve the results you want. You have to really start with your peers. You have to build a track record of delivering things that are meaningful to them, that actually improve their day-to-day lives. bottoms up is the only really way to do this. Top down, you might buy the thing, but it won't.
Very good point. Okay, now it's time to vote.
Yeah.
See, I almost messed that up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Good thing it's not recorded.
Totally accidental. I know.
Wait, it's recorded? Never mind. Yeah. All right, Ian, you're on the board. Bottom up in a room full of engineers. I mean, it was a good one.
Play to the audience,
Good
man.
one. Okay, we have to do an AI topic, right? I mean, it's not can't do a panel in 2024 with AI. But should we be prioritizing investments in AI tooling for developers over other tools? There's a lot of great tools out there. AI is a big hype. Should we be doing it? Ian, you're up first.
Yeah, I don't think we should be prioritizing investments in AI tooling. I feel like what we call AI right now is a huge distraction from us really looking into more classical ML. We've sort of left a massive amount of optimizations, productivity enhancements that classical ML can help us solve, automate, things that we can't do with traditional programming methodologies, but aren't these LLM generative problems. Let's just chill out and look at the complete landscape of machine learning.
Love it. Aida, you're next.
Should we prioritize? The answer is no. Short answer. Long answer is, at the end of the day, yes, AI today, we think it's future or present, depends on where you are at the stage. The reality is you still need to allocate some resources, like, 5%, 10% of your developer time to learn about what AI can do and what it can actually bring. You also need to keep in mind there's the accuracy, like hallucinations that happen, how you're going to be improving. It requires a lot of maintenance that you need to do along the way.
Rui.
I don't think so. I think that instead of prioritizing just AI tooling, we need actually to prioritize ecosystem to cater for developer productivity and developer development in general, instead of just AI. So there are several problems that AI are not going to be the solution, and there are other techniques that will much more are much more suited in order to solve the problem. So I don't think we should prioritize. Yeah.
Max, to wrap it up.
I think we're at an interesting point in history where there's more potential from AI in the future, actually, than there is in the present. And I think if we totally ignore investing in it now, we will miss out on a potential significant increase and potential significant paradigm shift in software engineering in the future. However, even if we care about that primarily, all those tools will need to invoke deterministic basic developer tools in order to actually do their work. So even in a world where AI writes a significant amount of code, it has to do it with our basic developer tools.
All right. Checking my notes. Okay, audience, time to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Max, they loved your answer. We've got a lot of folks making developer tools here, so. All right, it's getting fun. 3 more. How do you get application teams engaged in develop productivity initiatives, adopting the tools that a lot of the folks in this room make, to take action on the reports and metrics that you saw a lot of talks on? How do you get them to actually do this stuff? Ian?
Yeah, I think, giving them trying to convince them to join you sometimes is not going to work. You really have to get in there, get them to opt out of the tool adoption, give them the choice, right? But do the work to get them on board in the first place. We've done this in a number of different technologies. Rather than try and convince people to adopt predictive test selection, we just turned it on for everybody and let the dissenters weed themselves out. You realize the wins without having to negotiate with every team, with every manager, with every exec.
Let the data do the talking. Love it. Aida?
What's the question? How do you get teams engaged? So I would say we do the same approach mostly. We turn it on for everyone and see if there are some kind of discrepancies happening. Like the way for us to bring people, let them adopt, because we're building mobile building infra team, there is not much choice there. We can just turn it on for everyone. If they want to opt out, they will need to explicitly opt out. And that's the way we go, by forcing some tools, adoption of tools.
Max, how do you get developers at LinkedIn to look at your insights and do all this great things your team has put together?
So I could talk about this for hours, But the first rule of this is that you have to be solving a problem that product team cares about and knows exists and believes exists, not just a problem that you believe exists. Because if they don't believe it exists, they will not buy the solution.
Love it. Rui.
Okay, I will use those 13 seconds. I think it's it's simple. We need actionability and explainability. There you go.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
You didn't even need to lose the rollover seconds. Great. Perfect. Okay, audience, time to vote. Max is on fire. Okay, here's a fun one. What's better for developer productivity? Monorepo, multirepo? Rui, you're up first. Yeah, audience likes this one. Yeah.
All right. So I want to have a job tomorrow, so it has to be monorepo, right? I think it really depends on multiple factors. Whether or not you want your projects to be decoupled from each other, whether or not you want actually people to contribute and to find code in another's work project. So I don't think there is a silver bullet here, and it really depends on your scale as a company and also the type of projects that you are developing.
Lost my notes. Okay, Max.
So I have extensive experience working with both of these. And in an ideal world, I would tell you should probably use a monorepo because it is much easier to reason about. If you need to make a very large-scale change to that system, it is much, much harder in a multi-repo ecosystem than it is in a monorepo. It is very difficult for people to reason about the behavior of a multi-repo ecosystem. However, you probably don't have the infrastructure of Google or Meta, so you probably can't have a monorepo. So your goal should be to try to have a multi-repo system that it works as close to head as possible and as easy to reason about as possible.
All right. You can't handle the Ian, you've worked at monorepo, multi-repo companies. What do you think?
Yeah, so I've done both, and I can say, unless you're a mono person working on a monolith, you should absolutely not use a monorepo. And if, God forbid, you are using a monorepo, please do not use Git for your source control system. I don't know if they're still in business, but Perforce is probably what you want to use. For everything else, like just architect your source code like you architect your applications, be modular, be multi-repo.
Aida, what do you think?
So my experience comes from Android development, right? And then I would say for Android builds, it's easier and simpler. We always use monorepos unless you're going to create separate libraries or separate SDKs, which will be sitting in the multi-repo. And the question is about how do you balance how many teams you have, who can handle the releases, the dependencies, and all of this stuff. And it's a matter of what company needs at this time and what it might need in 5 years. That's the decision that you go with, whether it's multi or mono repo.
All right. Okay, audience, time for you to vote. Oh, wow. But it's like watching a train station. You don't know which one.
Yeah, that was good.
That was well
All right.
That was great.
Nice one, Ian. All right, so we got to be careful with this one. We don't want anybody to get fired from their jobs tomorrow or tonight. And so, in your experience, opinion, what is a technical or tooling decision that you have witnessed from a friend or former company long time ago that had the most negative impact on developer productivity? Max, you're first.
I would say that if you choose to write several 100,000 lines of code with basically no tests, you're going to have a bad time. That's my whole answer.
Okay, easy. Rui.
All right. This is a difficult one anyways. But I think that if you use tools that do not scale well to your environment, then this will also have a huge negative impact on developer productivity, and you might find out quite along the way and not immediately. And then there are things also related to testing, like flakiness and that sort of thing that have a negative impact on developer productivity.
Tools that don't scale and flakiness. Love it. Aida.
Okay, my friends, I would say the most negative impact is acquisition on any tools then it will have trickle effect on every other team, company that depends on that tool. So that's the most negative impact.
All right. Ian, to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think the thing I've seen over and over again is organizations over-indexing on the problems their most senior engineers and technical people have. Or if you're a technical, the most senior technical person in your company, over-indexing on the problems you have. So often we build the tooling that is geared towards the architect, the person who has the least amount of code in the system, but the most influence at that company. So step back, think about the larger group of engineers at the company, optimize for those kids.
All right, audience, time to vote. Nice one, Ian.
Thank you.
Okay, last one. Everybody's favorite or not favorite topic, return to office. Okay, I got this from Brian Howe because he's still here. He's like definitely there he is. Like, throw this one up there. Thank you, Brian. Okay, how would you prove whether return to office is better for developer productivity or not? Ian.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Hard. So look, I actually love being in the office. I drive down 280 from San Francisco to Los Gatos as much as I can. But in the last year, I find myself somebody who loves being in the office, stuck in traffic with thousands of people who don't want to be in the office, and we're all miserable. It has been the worst decision I think collectively we as an industry have made, trying to force people back to where they're less productive.
Aida.
So for this one, how I prove return office is better for developer productivity, I would run an experiment where I will ask my developers to quit. And guess what? Their developer productivity will get increased. They're going to get happy. They're going to be all good. And it's going to improve developer productivity overall.
Okay. Rui.
I think we need to have data before, during, for example, the pandemic and after. And now after the decision or the mandate to return to office, and then compare those different numbers. But also we need to take into account that this is as a function that the world has evolved, right? I mean, we cannot look at the numbers from today, even if I return to the office, to the numbers before the pandemic, because the company has evolved. We do different things, communication tools and whatnot. And so we have to have this as a function of the environment. Right.
Max, to wrap it up.
I think as a researcher, you have to take an unbiased view of this. And so you want to try to figure out like what your opinion is and then counter it. What's the opposite to your opinion? So if you think, hey, everybody's more productive in the office, let's measure the PR output rate and the number of incidents that we have. So you have sort of some speed measurement, some quality measurement at a very high level, right? See, how did that change when you come out of the office? But then if you're a person who loves working from home, also ask, hey, how do the managers feel? Or what are the qualities that the managers experience as productivity, and how do they experience those in the office as well?
All right, audience, time for you to vote. Tight one. Ian, and you're the winner.
Woo!
Ian.
Oh, this was fun.
So there's no prize, there's no money. I mean, sure, we'll give one of these folks a free DPE Summit ticket for next year, but you get your 15 seconds of fame, Ian, just in case, those shouting matches with Elon didn't make you famous enough,
Yeah, so 15 seconds, is that what I got?
You got 15 seconds.
All right. Hey, I'm here to implore all of you to please upgrade your JDK to the latest version. Okay?
I am once again asking.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins.
That's all, folks. Enjoy the happy hour. We have some music, and we'll see you all tonight or tomorrow.
Awesome.